You're listening to the SPE Podcast. I'm Adam Wilson, and we're talking about data and AI in the petroleum industry with
Jeff Baetz from IBM.
Welcome, Jeff. Thanks for talking with us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Adam.
Jeff is a 26-year veteran of the software, consulting, and industrial and manufacturing markets. And currently, Jeff is the Global Industry Chief Technology Officer with IBM. So today we're going to talk about data in the oil and gas industry. And as you know, the industry is famous, or perhaps infamous, for having vast quantities of data. And this staggering amount creates the challenge of how to find the most relevant data to answer a specific question. So where does artificial intelligence and machine learning fit in with this?
Adam, I've been doing a lot of research on this for this specific podcast, and according to a markets report, the artificial intelligence and machine learning market for the oil and gas business alone is predicted to be worth north of $3 billion in the next 3 years. And this pertains specifically to the predicted spend and investment made by companies in this vertical market. So this is not a new thing. The petroleum industry, as we all can imagine and have seen over the last 9 months, has been in such a major state of disruption due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and mistakes just cannot happen that will only put more pressure on an industry already under an immense amount of financial pressure. So focusing on digital transformation in artificial intelligence has got to be a top priority for oil and gas companies that want to reduce risk, but while improving operational efficiencies in the process of making conservative capital decisions. Some other research that I found out was the average offshore oil and gas producer experiences, and I found this to be very surprising, but 27 days of unplanned downtime per year, costing millions of dollars in unforeseen cost to the bottom line. And these decisions, if they're not made correctly, can affect one's job or even the entire survival of the company.
Yeah.
So volumes of data, accounts, real-time updates, geoscience, geophysical reports, petroleum engineer insights, and other sources all exist. And unless a petroleum company has a true and what we call a cognitive computing approach, much of this data is sitting in unstructured data silos, making it difficult to research, compile, and develop and recognize trends to make confident decisions. Artificial intelligence helps with this data consolidation need and approach.
Yeah, you mentioned the unstructured data silos and all the different types of data that's there. And a lot of the data that the oil and gas industry has available is this unstructured data. So how can artificial intelligence be used to help access that data and make it useful?
So Adam, let's talk about that question about unstructured data and how artificial intelligence can help clean and sort, simplify, standardize, and really sustain operations. So there are new technologies like visual, audio, touch, speech, and reasoning machine learning that's being supervised and unsupervised learning can help collect and interpret, coordinate and analyze and display unstructured data more effectively. And we believe that we need to promote the use of this data from design, drilling, production, HSSE, which is health, safety, security, and environment,
right,
and decommissioning. HSSE obviously pertains to a business making the safety, sustainability, and the environment the number one priority for the company.
right.
But big data is everywhere. There's historical, operational data. There's data in silos like we've talked about earlier. There's Internet of Things, or IoT, real-time sensor data at the well or at the field level, all that can be part of a company's digital transformation, digital maturity path, and more importantly, beating your competition.
Right.
Enabling a cognitive, mature approach allows AI, robotics, blockchain, IoT, analytics, and digital twin technology data to be incorporated into one consolidated and mineable repository to make better and correct business decisions. Other areas like past failures data, past successes data, gathering data from different sources and domains, they're all part of this nirvana-based cognitive solution that never stops learning. It learns and enables petroleum companies to make what we call one and done confident capital decisions. So how do you get started? So first, we believe an investment must be made in the infrastructure of the discussed cognitive approach. It must be business driven with, and this is very key, you have to have executive sponsorship.
Right.
On-premise, hybrid cloud, or 100% outsourced cloud solutions exist from the top technology partners and are readily available. Second, understand that artificial intelligence is a journey. It's not a destination. And that planning at every stage is very critical. And third, interview, assess, and pick a solid and proven business partner.
I like what you said about executive sponsorship. I mean, so much of this stuff needs to come from the top and work its way down to get these solutions in place. The industry has so much data because it's been collecting and storing it pretty much since the beginning. First this data was saved on paper, right? Logs and what have you, and then on tape, and now it's all saved in the cloud. But that adds to the struggle of accessing it and making it useful. And how can artificial intelligence be used to bring that legacy data into the modern age?
Yeah, Adam, historically, oil and gas companies have older legacy systems that manage their businesses, and they're still operating in silos. And an agile approach is recommended to be able to pivot faster with readiness from a business change and technology change perspective. So cognitive solutions allow companies to truly find the path in their data. So there's software that exists that now picks up and learns things like corporate jargon, understands questions and requests, deals with natural human language and slang, if you can believe it, slang, without any coding. So processes can be learned, and with cognitive software solutions, it continues to learn and never stops learning, uncovering optimization opportunities, paths within your data, and defining options and ways forward that are confident and correct for drillers. Answers can provide immediate impact as the value prop, and businesses that keep pace and operationalize their data are going to win, regardless of the market or industry vertical that they're playing in. History has always played an important role in operations research and AI. In partnership with our clients, we're looking for both patterns and anti-patterns, or what we call a hypothesis. Additionally, a null hypothesis that can raise our performance in effectiveness and efficiencies is also a top priority. And the law of large numbers allows us to see the range, control points, common causes, and special causes. So our clients, again, like we talked about earlier, can act or pivot faster with higher results and less resources. To move the curve, you need to know where you are and where you're going. Right. And data is so similar to the petroleum inventory analogy. We move inventory in different containers depending on the required usage needs. Data will always be transforming where it becomes information to knowledge to action. We've discovered that action is not always electronically delivered, however. And in certain issues, we may revert to paper, tape, or a manual device like you talked about earlier for certain requirements like access to electricity to power a device, or an externality where we required backup instructions on paper. Although artificial intelligence can clearly help transform data from paper and tape to audio, video, sensor, actuator, or reasoning scenarios, with speed and efficiency, the end user determines quality of the user interface. And there's a funny quote that we've been tossing around internally: just because we can doesn't mean we should. This is where AI can help with the reasoning part as well.
Yeah, making reference to Jurassic Park, so caught up in whether or not they could, didn't stop to think of whether or not they should.
Much of the work of the Society of Petroleum Engineers is accomplished by members. Become a volunteer and use your knowledge and experience to influence SPE programs and activities. As a volunteer, you can enhance your leadership skills while meeting and working with other SPE members from across the globe. There are many opportunities to get involved, regardless of your experience, location, or experience level. To learn more about the League of Volunteers, visit spe.org/volunteer.
So all of this, all this data and all this legacy data, right? It's, one of the main problems is all the different formats that it's in. You've got this unstructured data that could be in emails, it could be in spreadsheets, it could be PDFs, or there's so many different formats. There's an endless variety of formats for this for data that can be useful. So what kind of standards can we look for, or what kind of standards can be applied to this oil and gas data to make it universally valuable?
Yeah, this is, I think, one of the more important parts of this podcast, Adam, is, really in this area, we need to constantly drive home the importance of standards. The balance of standards versus innovations or change has got to be constantly monitored. I mean, we're looking at IBM in terms of our analytics business, it's changing every 90 to 120 days. The technology is changing, the requirements are changing, the scope of what certain products do or need to do is changing. So the benefits of standardization fundamentally means that your employees will have an established, time-tested process to use. And I've got to think that in oil and gas, there are many, many standard and very important processes. When done well, standardization can decrease ambiguity, decrease guesswork, guarantee quality, boost productivity, and in the end, improve employee morale. So the what standards need to be asked after the why and how mentioned earlier. The how is in the domains 1 and 2 of what we call the job task analysis, or CRISP method, that you can leverage to your advantage. Then the what standards should then be driven by when and to what context or scenario. So the standardization of formats depends on the actions taken prior in domains 1 and 2 as a reference. You can use other methods like DMAIIC to help define those standards, but it's always preceded by sorting, simplifying, cleaning, and then standardizing where the standards is, then unsustainable because a process or technology advance has made the standard obsolete. For example, look what happened when I was, in high school 25, almost 30 years ago. Yeah. Look at the standards in video from VHS and Beta. So the ability to recognize change is as important than the actual standard. The answer to these questions relies on the scenario and needs of the user defining quality that the standards must align themselves to. Business insights is where the cognitive and machine learning tools come into play, driving business efficiencies, business performance, and in the end, what are we all after? Positive financial results, aiding your employees, stockholders, and consumers. Right. Machine learning allows computers to learn and interpret the data without having humans in the way involved to interpret that same data. And here's the fact of the matter, Adam. Human operators make mistakes. With machine learning and artificial intelligence software, solutions allow petroleum companies to respond faster to concerns not detected by those same humans in the process.
Right.
So new connections and new insights are quickly returned to the business leveraging these technologies. Machine learning and AI allow computers to assess large volumes of disparate data, those data sets that we talked about in the many silos, and make appropriate decisions to solve complex problems like how the human brain functions and solves problems.
Okay.
AI and ML programs are designed to never tire, continuously evolve and get better. They will improve and new information and data as it's ingested. As a result, AI and ML solutions allow for more effective forecasting, for example, again, without any coding or dependence on IT people or data scientist resources that are near and dear to our heart that are usually busy and overburdened on other critical projects.
Right. Yeah.
Leveraging AI, an oil and gas company can enhance their business operations, employee and resource productivity, and their safety efforts.
Right.
Additionally, applicable data standards can be, for example, adoption of AI-related chatbot technologies. CDC's got one about COVID-19.
Yeah.
They're all over the place. A lot of retailers are using these chatbot technologies. Big data standards allowing companies to better understand gathered intelligence and meaning out of the data they're managing. Another example. Third example is exploration robot technologies. Some of these that are now, new, in some cases autonomous, or
Right.
planning to be autonomous in reference to ongoing testing. So there's lots of different examples where this is being done today, and effectively so.
Yeah, and it sounds like, something you said earlier applies here as well. You have to know where you are and where you're going to do this effectively. But where we are right now is standing in a sea of data. And you've heard this before, I know, data being called the new oil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess because there's a lot of money in it. But oil by itself, well, it's not as useful as it could be. And so just like oil's got to be refined before you can use it, before you can put it in your car and drive around, or what the myriad things you can do with it, so must data. You have to do that. You have to refine the data as well. So what sort of things is IBM doing to sort of refine data from the oil and gas industry to make it more valuable?
So Adam, in one way, shape, or form, IBM's partnered with just about every enterprise oil and gas client, and we're of course 109 years old, global company in nature, from an innovation and support perspective, and with the global chemical and petroleum industry facing some pretty unprecedented challenges today that are ever changing, and volatile crude pricing, changing socioeconomic and political environments, and new forms of competition, there's all these different factors of disruption. And IBM's helping our clients in this vertical to position themselves to overcome this challenging, new, ever-changing current business climate, but also to grow revenue, improve employee productivity, take cost out of inefficient business practices, and capture efficiency, allowing our customers to join the ranks of what we call the outperformers.
Yeah.
So with reduced demand and increase of supply, our clients in partnership with IBM are naturally just rethinking their current strategies and cost cutting. With all of this understood, IBM is helping our clients in the areas of redesigning of business strategy and design related services. So that's number one. Number two, we're trying to help our clients digitally reinvent themselves and achieve the promises of what Industry 4.0 solutions can offer a business. Third, artificial intelligence for the optimization of connected drilling and drilling determination. Previous podcast I did for SPE was about where to drill, how to use AI to make sure you're drilling in the right spot. Number four is improved customer experiences at the pump. And there's some other ones that we researched as well. Oil field production optimization, leveraging AI, data, and analytics.
Yeah.
Closing the skills gap, supply chain optimization and realization. And finally, things like quantum computing, overall business transformation for the better versus your competition, or it's around AI decision-making assistance regarding mergers and acquisitions. We're starting to see a lot of consolidation in the industry today. So we're refining and cleaning data. More importantly, like data is to inventory, models are to machines. So there's analogies, but the data is the data that needs to be clean, sorted, simplified, standardized, and sustained to the requirements and to the context of the specific client. So that's how we're doing it today with our clients.
Yeah, that's what people mean when they talk about the industry's digital transformation. It feels like there's a lot more to talk about. It feels like this is where the frontier is. So much of what the industry does, it's been doing for a very long time and has gotten very good at it. And so the advancements are incremental. What did you say the turnaround time was, or the how quickly things become obsolete?
Oh, it seems like in our industry, especially in analytics, that things are changing every 90 to 120 days, and you just have to buckle up and get ready, because it's just life. I mean, things are innovating very, very quickly.
It feels like this particular aspect of the industry is advancing quicker than some of the other more traditional sides of the industry. Do you have anything else you'd like to add about?
I do, and I know that you wanted to talk a little bit about how IBM's been involved in the oil and gas industry's digital transformation. And if you look at IBM's history, even from the early days, IBM's been involved in the development of solutions from hardware, software, services to even financial services that we offer our clients. And the breadth and depth of IBM's 109 to I think now it's 110-year history has not been limited by industry, geography, or what we call domain. It's really to benefit our customers based on the technology that we bring to bear. But it's more importantly the people at IBM, where the knowledge is, where it's been developed, deployed, and refined. And we are obviously seeing the world changing hourly, daily. IBM's been in the enterprise space for many years and does have the history. So the question that we all ask ourselves is, can IBM continue to build on that history with the right products, places, people, price, and promotion to grow the market and the IBM Corporation in general? And I think we all would agree that the answer continues to be yes.
Special thanks to you, Jeff. Thank you so much for coming and talking with us.
Adam, it's been an absolute pleasure to be on this podcast with you, and I hope we can do more of these in the future.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Everybody, let's keep this conversation going. Hashtag SPE Podcast on your social media channels to reach out and leave comments and reviews. You can find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for SPE Podcast on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn. We're also, of course, online at www.spe.org/podcasts. I'm Adam Wilson. Thank you for listening.